What's up, guys? Welcome to Daily Dose of Reddit. This is your host, Zach, and today's subreddit is r/NuclearRevenge. Alright, this story's called Screw Me Over When I Trusted You? I'll Frame You. This happened somewhere in the Middle East, somewhat lengthy. I, 22, met a guy named Ali through my best friend Ahmed. Ali seemed cool enough that we ended up hanging out a lot. When Ahmed, studying abroad, noticed me and Ali becoming closer through social media, he warned me not to let my guard down because Ali isn't how he seemed and that he'll use me. I wish I had listened, but I did not because I really thought Ali and I had become really good friends. He was very respectful and seemed thoughtful. Ali is a citizen of the country we live in. I'm not, and he made me feel really bad for him because of the stories he fed me over hookah and Captagon. He told me stories about how his father abused him, his brother, and mother, how they're about to be homeless because his father, who lives alone, would not pay rent. He was driving a really messed up car. Once I was telling him about the dark web and everything that goes through it. He cried and begged me to find someone on the dark web who'd buy his kidney so he can provide for his family. I was sad. It's very bad luck for a citizen of this country to live almost below the poverty line, so I felt bad for him. Toppled with Captagon, I was very generous to him too. Since we met, I was paying for everything: food, drugs, alcohol, hookah, and we were spending almost all day together. Whenever he mentioned a financial problem, I never hesitated to help. I am a distance student with no job, but my father is a very successful businessman and gives me, his only son, a hefty sum every month. My father is really cool and we're like friends. We smoke hash and he mainly dips with bear, a habit he picked up during his college years in the American South, which is illegal in this country. My father gets his hash and alcohol from his friend who lives near a border town and is heavily involved in smuggling. Every 6 months, my father receives the goodies and he pays cash up front. Hash and alcohol are actually very expensive, so 6 months worth is a lot of money. The reason my father gets 6 months worth at once is because a lot of Western, African, and Asian businessmen visit him, and alcohol is something they all want. Now, Ali already knows all that. Unbeknownst to me, Ali had a greedy plan devised all along. He knew all the procedures involved during that transaction between my father and the smugglers, and he waited 6 months so he and his other friends can rob them. He sure was using me, and he was really good at it. I had mentioned to him that I was thinking about throwing a humble party when the goodies arrive. He asked me the exact day, and I told him without thinking, and that fateful day arrived, and he and his friends stalked our house until the refrigerated trailer arrived. Before they unloaded it, however, my friend and his crew of 6, masked, armed, and impersonating the police, raided our house, cuffed 2 of my uncles, 4 of the smugglers, and locked them in a room with 5 other clueless people who were in the house, and the robbers made off with the cash and the trailer. The locked up people genuinely believed the police was searching the entire house, so they sat quietly. They didn't know the police had already left. 2 hours later, my sister got to a dead empty house and frantically called me. I was at a cafe blowing hookah alone, thinking my friend Ali was sleeping. When she called, I drove home and started looking in every room, and I found my terrified family and smugglers. I asked what was happening, and one of the smugglers instantly laughed and asked me if there was police outside, to which I replied no, and then he cursed and said, "The corrupt police stole all the booze and hash." Since that was a common occurrence, usually with smaller amounts, we all thought that was just that: crooked cops. The tech-savvy person he is, my father has most of the house outfitted with high-tech surveillance. My uncle and I started watching, and that's when I realized how good the sound system was. You could hear hear everything so clearly. I also noticed a very familiar body posture and gestures from one of the officers. I thought, could that be who I think it is? When I heard his voice multiple times, I was dumbfounded and furious. I drove to his house and his car was not in the parking lot. I called him and he answered, acting as though he just woke up. I told him that the police just robbed us. He acted all concerned and I told him I'll be at the cafe. Meanwhile, I called Ahmed and told him everything. He was not surprised at all. In fact, he told me he knew Ali and his friends impersonated a police officer to rob foreigners. He told me Ali had actually spent 6 months in prison a couple of years back for theft. I had no clue. Anyway, Ali came to the cafe, eager to hear what happened and congratulating me because it could have gone bad. I played along. I didn't tell him crap. I never gave away the fact I knew everything. I was just thinking about how to possibly screw him over. If I call the cops on him and his friends, they'll most definitely rat us out. They're thieves. The stuff had to come from somewhere. I decided to play the long game and think what I could do to him thoroughly. I also told my dad, and he told me to never tell him that I knew it was him and to try and break contact with him. Since he was a citizen and my father didn't want to bring unnecessary attention to himself because he got a business to protect. Also, my father never got involved directly with hash and alcohol. His bros would take the fall if anything was to happen. My uncle, however, was concerned if they somehow messed up and got caught, they'd still snitch, so he asked me to find out exactly where they stashed the stuff. After weighing my options, I decided to buy a GPS tracking device and attach to all 3 of Ali's friends and his cars. I found out the place where all 3 cars frequented at the same time and told my uncle. It turns out the house belongs to one of Ali's friend's cousins, Wasim, who happened to be a huge dealer of pills. My uncle then approached Wasim's friend about pills, alcohol, and hash, and the friend took him right to Wasim's home. That way, my uncle confirmed probably all of the booze was inside. My uncle, 26, then turned the table on them by he and his friends also impersonating secret police, raided Wasim's home and took every drug and alcohol available. They also injected Wasim with a mixture of drugs, filled his car with all the pills he was selling, and they deliberately crashed his car on the highway and placed a passed out Wasim in the driver's seat. I don't think he knew when exactly the real police caught up with him. Well, my uncle's great plan got me thinking on how I could finally get Ali. I was still angry at him. Ali didn't know that I was bi. That's because you don't talk about that kind of stuff around here. Anyway, I met a guy, Angel, from North America, neither US nor Canada, on his final year studying as an international student. We hit it off and I started spending more time with him as I continued to distance myself from Ali. Ali still had the money he stole from us, so he didn't care much. His life is basically pop pills, smoke hookah, eat, sleep, repeat. He got that covered for a while. Fast forward a year, my entire family, along with the family business, moved to the neighboring country. I left behind with Angel as me and Angel were discussing moving to his country, and I was seriously considering that as well. Finally, when he graduated, we decided to leave. Angel would first go and arrange everything before I joined him after a month. Out of the blue, I remembered Ali. I barely saw him in the past 6 months by making up excuses like, I'm not in the country. Am I just gonna live without doing anything to him? With the frizz? No way! I thought to myself. A plan came to mind. Just like how my uncle screwed Wasim by framing him, I would do the same. I told Angel all about my plans. He thought the outcome could be too cruel. He is a very gentle person, but I assured him that they'd have killed my family had my uncle resisted the day of the robbery. Angel knew a little bit of the story, but he never met Ali. My plan was for Angel to rent a car a week before his departure, and a day before his departure, he parked it in front of a supermarket while the engine is running to get something quickly. I then stole the car. Camera shows a well-disguised man speeding away. He called the police, they reviewed the footage, and alerted the rental company. The rental company then gave him another car, which he returned at the rental company's airport branch the next day before departing home. I hid the car I stole at a location cops would not go look. I also hid a fairly large amount of drugs and some cash under the trunk lid. I put the keys on the front tire. Then I traveled the breadth and length of the Atlantic Ocean to be with my Angel. After overcoming jet lag and the confusion of time differences, I called Ali on Snapchat and asked him to please pick me and Mom from the airport within an hour, as my uncle couldn't pick us up as something urgent came up in the last hour, but he has left a car at location and the key is on the front left tire. Since Ali's car is a mess, he didn't offer to use his own. He assured me I had nothing to worry about. He picked up the nice BMW rental in less than 30 minutes, and he let me know. "I'll see you at the airport," were his last words. I put the drugs under the trunk lid because airport security would always, without exception, would lift the lid up to check. I later learned that he got 5 years for being in the possession of a stolen vehicle and possession of drugs with intent to distribute. Yeah, that wasn't a very smart move on Ali's part. If you're gonna steal from people that have an operation that set up going on, you gotta be a little more careful than that. However, if he was caught doing what he actually did, the consequences would have been way worse. Alright, this story's called Be a Piece of Sushi All of Your Life? Have fun getting stranded in a drug cartel city. Before I start, I want to say that English is not my first language and that I might type some nonsense here. Feel free to leave suggestions in the comments about redacting posts. This revenge was performed by my mom and her epic mind. It all started when I was born. Life was happy, good, and easy. My brother was a good and working person. College dropout, but always very smart. Or that's what we thought. My brother went out every night with his friends. Nothing alarming, but very weird. Time passed and I turned 10 years old. At this point, my brother had a girlfriend, a son, and had already moved out. It was fun until my brother moved back with me and my parents. Dookie truly hit the fan there. The first day we noticed an instant change in both his personality and appearance. You see, he didn't move back in alone. He came back with his son and girlfriend. We asked why he came back, and he simply said they had a problem and this was temporary. For his girlfriend, to which I'll refer to as Donna, and son, this was true, but he stayed for the rest of this story in our house. When Donna and her son left, she cut contact with both our family and my brother, but occasionally asking for money. Don't tag her as bad just now because she had a very good motive. My brother, after this, became a good-for-nothing piece of dookie with everybody in the house. Turns out his friends were actually his dealers, you know, for weed and that stuff. Later we asked why did they truly leave the other house, and he said, "I had a fight with her brother and dad." It was vague, but it was true. Sometime around 2018, when I turned 11, we occasionally went to visit Donna and her son. One of those times, my brother asked why she cut contact. The truth was that my brother was emotionally, physically, verbally, and sexually abusing her. She didn't press charges and still refuses to do so because of fear. My mom became enraged with him, but didn't do anything just yet. Years passed. My brother stayed in our house. Fights between my brother and everybody here became more and more common. My brother smoked pot 20 24/7 with 2 kids in the freaking house. I started showing signs of depression around those times. I was 11 years old. Imagine how crappy this was for me to consider suicide at that age. More time passed. It's now 2020, and his first fight with my dad, his stepdad, just happened. My mother was leaving to go to Culiacan, and right after the fight, my brother asked if he could go. My sister, which is not relevant to this story, offered to buy him a plane ticket. This is where the revenge starts. You see, my sister bought a ticket to go, but not to come back. Mom was the one to come up with this plan. My brother didn't know this at the time. Culiacan is a city known for being home to various drug cartels. Sinaloa, the state where Culiacan is pretty much horrible. More if you are like my brother. The day my mom returned is when I was notified about all of this. I was expecting my mom to come back with my brother, but she came home alone. My brother was left in a hotel with no money, no family, nothing. He tried calling us multiple times through public phones, but wasn't successful at all. Unless he gets a job and a house, he's either gonna die of starvation or is going to get killed by a drug cartel. It's the first time in years I felt truly happy. Thanks a lot for reading all of my nonsense. Wow, okay, that is definitely some good revenge. Leaving him at the mercy of the drug cartel, definitely not a good deal for him. Most cartels are absolutely ruthless, okay? You think they'll show you mercy because you're in a strange country with no money, no prospects, absolutely nothing with you? Well, don't expect mercy because that's not what you're gonna get. Because not even freaking kids get that. No, they don't mess around, guys. This story's called Methanol Vodka. This is a story about someone my parents knew in the Soviet Union. First, some context. In Russia, people have a main home and a secondary home for the summer, called a dacha, I think. Now, when you lived in your main home, 99% of the time, people broke into the dacha and vandalized or stole things. Okay, the story. This guy was tired of people breaking in, and he worked in a government chemical facility. So on the last day of summer, he brought to his dacha some methanol and poured it in some empty vodka bottles. Then he left the bottles on the table. When he came back next summer, he returned to 3 corpses. Here's the revenge part. Generally, this is first, second-degree murder, but since they broke in and drank it, he's not liable. It's the same thing as breaking into someone's home and stabbing yourself with a kitchen knife. So he walked away free. Okay, well, normally I wouldn't approve of murder as a form of theft protection, I guess, because, well, obviously, it's not worth killing someone over some vodka, or what they thought was vodka. However, this was pretty cool because the way he did it, and he didn't get in trouble for it, which would also be stupid. It's their fault they drank it. Maybe get like some insane level laxatives so that they have to go to a hospital to get like, I don't know, a medical grade cork to stop it from coming out. Like, nothing short of that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell to never miss an episode.